Everybody, thanks for watching. Just a quick reminder that Meditation Volume 2 is now out, as well as Personal Economics Volume 3 is out. And the sale is still going on for all of the DVD downloads, that is downloads. So definitely take advantage of that. It includes these two new DVDs as well. So take advantage of that before the price goes back up. It's only going to be up for this week. So take advantage of it before it finally does go back to $2.99. Thanks to everybody who has supported. I kept it up and got the emails and got people messaging me about it. And the sale is still going on, and I hope you guys take advantage of it. But let's get into this video. So, economic Africa. What's going on? Since the Black Panther movie, a lot more people are looking into Africa and its dealings and what's been going on for, hundreds of years, thousands of years, or what have you. A lot has been going on in Africa, and so many people are clueless and have no idea what's been taking place. I talked about this before, as far as so many African countries starting to adopt constitutions that have presidents, and we can see the colonization going on. Make no mistake. Let's stop playing games here. Like, we know what they're doing. We know what they have done. We know what's happening in Africa. First of all, we know that they are hiding the beauty, the wealth of Africa from us. And one of the reasons of that is they don't really want us to see how they have came in there and taken over and used their wealth that they stole from Africa to build these huge, beautiful cities and basically live lavishly in luxury off the labor of African people. Because when you go there, that's what's going to be running these hotels and running these shops and running these companies for the colonizer, for the white people who have come in there from Europe, for the agents who have come in there from Asia and have basically, taken Africa. And Africa is so big, as so many people will tell you, they're not telling us the true size and the true number of people that live there, that it is way more than a lot of people realize. So it's a lot of Africa for them to go in there and do what they are doing, and by us not really paying attention to it, mainstream media not really talking about it as much as, of course, they should be, because they own it. But a lot of people are more focused on things that have been going on there and the destabilization of so many countries. And pay attention to the Middle East. That's all you got to do. Pay attention to what has taken place in Syria and understand this stuff has already been taking place in Africa for a long time, but we're going to see it more on the scale of the Middle East in the future eventually. So instead of them going into, these Middle Eastern countries and using the whole guise of, terrorism and all these false flag events that has been taking place and saying terrorists here, and Africa is a little bit more subtle, because Africa has never attacked anybody, and they know they can't justify poor African people getting their hands somehow on nuclear weapons or weapons of mass destruction and going on and blowing up some shit. So they go in there, it's subtle. And the beauty that a lot of people are seeing and the economic turnaround that people are seeing in Africa, especially in the South, is not so much of, the wealth of Africa doing good for the people. It's the colonizer who has come in there and taken over and set up shop. And we got to get that in our heads to understand what's taking place. Of course, you have a lot of wealthy Africans over there who have businesses and companies and corporations for the most part, but they have to play the game because colonization is in full effect, and you have people in high places really truly controlling things, and that's just what it is. So we watch and talk about this in meditation, and people get so excited about Black Panther. A lot of people understood that this movie is important because it shows African people in a different light. It shows African people in a position of power and unity. And everybody put on dashikis and everybody got misty-eyed and hype about Black Panther. But in real life, we do not support that view. We're not supporting it. We're not supporting Black economics. We're not supporting each other. We are still giving crazy money to our oppressors and colonizers and the people who want to see harm come to that continent. And it's just that simple. And it seems like we only show up to act. You know, where the fuck has people been at for the years we've been putting on dashikis, and the years we've been talking about Africa and pro-Africa? So many people ran to the fucking Hebrews and said fuck Africa. Now the damn movie comes out and everybody want to be pro-Africa. It's disgusting. But, you know, you got to take the good. Any good you can get out of the situation, you got to take it. And it's a shame it took a fictional character in a movie to get people to really start looking more into Africa and seeing what's going on and asking that question that the movie asks. And it's a spit in the face to me. You know, you have in Wakanda them having the resources and basically wanting to share with the people at the end. And then us really looking to Africa and saying, well, wait a minute, Africa feeds the world. All these resources are there. So much, billions of dollars coming out of Africa. Yet the Africans around the world who have been enslaved, who have been taken out of Africa for whatever reason or whatever happened to us, we are still going through what we're going through. And we're seeing these billions, huge numbers coming out of Africa. Yet we receive no support from our people. What is going on? What is going on is clear. That, you know, there is a disconnect, and you have a lot of these countries who don't see the importance of the unity that we should have with Africa and African people around the world, that connection. Something happens to an Asian, to a Chinese person in America, and they're from China, it's going to be backlash. So on and so forth with other nations. You can't do something to Chinese people in Africa and not have it come back on you, because the rest of the Chinese is going to definitely speak out and say something. Not with Africa. For us as, you know, black people, African Americans, and the African people that are here, when something goes down, we don't really have a country to turn to. It seems like it's not going to be any, you know, embargoes or any people running to the UN for our benefit. And that is the whole thing that you got to look deeper into when you look closer into the true narrative of the Black Panther movie and what it's really trying to say, and what it's really trying to kind of sort of tease at us at, for the people who got it and understand the movie. And the thing is, you know, they sold us out. You know, the leaders in various countries have sold us out and are selling out the indigenous population that's still there, that still live primitively, who still pray to the ancestors and follow the ancestors and, you know, do everything that the ancients did. You have people who still live that way. And for the most part, they are left alone. And a lot of them have been basically run out of their land and run out of the places that they have held for thousands of years because of the resources that are there, and nothing is done. You have, as I talked about in Buddhism and in Mystery School series, about the African countries that basically had to fight off, you know, Romans, and deal with so many people coming in there stealing artifacts, and the people who come together to help bring those artifacts back. It's a lot of things that happen in many different African countries that you would think other African countries would come to the aid of those African countries, or a unity would be, you know, had at some point to really rectify a lot of these problems. Unfortunately, it's a lot of African nations who can use the help, and we know it's a lot of more well-off African countries that's better and doing far better than others, and no aid is being given to a lot of these really bad nations in Africa. And it's one of the reasons why a lot of people resonate with Eric Killmonger and Black Panther, and, you know, his whole mission in that movie to basically, you know, take the wealth, the power, the resources from Wakanda and basically distribute it to the, you know, many other African people, black people around the world who need help, who is basically being economically destroyed and taken over due to various, you know, other countries. And as a conscious, smart person, you got to ask that question. Even anybody with any kind of sense got to look at it and truly understand the scope of Africa and the resources that it does have, and why it is not backing its people around the world. What's up with that? It's crazy. It's really crazy when you really start to think about it. And it's to really get you to really see what's going on and to understand that these rulers don't control shit. They are being controlled, plain and simple. And sooner or later, you know, everybody's going to realize that you have a lot of destabilization going on behind, unbeknownst to most of the world. In Africa, when you travel a lot, like I do, as I said, when I was in Spain, the only people that was there that wasn't tourists, that was selling fake Louis bags and everything, was African people. Plain and simple. We are in so many different countries, so many different places, and we are, you know, forced to flee from Africa. It's the same thing that's happening in Syria and happened in Afghanistan or what have you, where the destabilization process has taken place and the place is being raped of its resources, and people are forced to go to other places and you know, try to survive any way they can. But it has been happening in Africa for a long time, and for the most part, the people have conformed to the colonization, to, you know, the colonizers and what they, you know, brought into the countries. And a lot of them are thankful, you know, for the jobs, for the resources, and that's how you have to look at it. So before you had, you know, them colonizing the land, you had this destabilization process going on to where a lot of people were hungry and in poverty, and they don't realize that the people who came and saved them was the people that basically is responsible for the destruction. So you have a lot of people who was doing bad around those times really looking at the Europeans coming in there and setting up these buildings and cities and, you know, jobs for them as saving them, you know, saving them from a life of poverty. And it's that attachment that they have to that system now to where, you know, they're willing to fight for it. It's just that simple. So you look at, you know, what happened to Patrice Lumumba and anybody else who has stood up for any kind of real freedom and liberation for African people. Gaddafi, look what happened to him, trying to unite Africa and bring a one currency, a currency of gold that's basically going to be shared with the people. Look at how good he treated the people. Look at what happened to him. You know, it's a psychological process that has taken place, and for the people not to protect somebody like Gaddafi should show you that that's just the case, and that man should have been protected for what he was trying to do. And it just shows you how strong of a hold that the powers that be have on Africa and the many different countries there, and why no real justice or no real unity is going to take place. And a lot of you have seen in the news how South Africa, they basically taking back the land away from these white farmers, and how, you know, that they basically, you know, own over 70% of the land down there that was, you know, good for resources, and how they went back and took the land and did not compensate the white people, and how, you know, they're now trying to go to Trump and say, hey, you know, forget about the Somalians, forget about the people from the Middle East, let these white people from down South Africa into America because of what's happening to them there. And we have a lot of people fighting for this. And a lot of people don't see the irony in it, if you can find any, but it's there. Trust me, it's just weird how, you know, of course, you don't give them anything because we didn't get anything. And the land is not theirs. The people really understood, the Africans really understood what they had and what's taking place, and how if they took control of it, the power they would have economically, if they united, what they would be able to do on a global scale. And, you know, Black Panther, the movie, kind of gave us a little taste, a hint of that. When at the end of that movie, you look and see that here you have standing at the podium in the UN, an African basically saying to the world, we can help the entire planet. You know, it's amazing. And it's just amazing. And it's so true in so many different ways, especially if you follow my videos, you understand what I'm talking about. And, you know, a lot of people ain't going to get how deep that is. And to me, why I call it an insult is because it's the truth, but they know that, you know, it's not going to happen, and the real reason why it's not and what's really taking place And don't look at it as a person saying what's wrong with the Africans. Look behind the scenes and see who is really controlling it, who has armed these villagers. We're talking about tribal men with AK-47s and grenade launchers and rocket launchers, RPGs or what have you. Where they get that stuff from? You know, the fact that they would go in to other African territories and destroy other tribes and shoot them to pieces, men, women, children, cut off heads, and the stuff that they would do to help the colonizer take a piece of land and the resources away from their own people. And not so much their own people as far as tribes, I'm talking about African people. And by them not really having an understanding of the outside world and what's going on, it's very easy for them to be manipulated and not look at it as such, as far as black and white, and the fact that colonization has been widespread, and what has really happened to African people. A lot of them are clueless as to what's really going on. They just know that you got this white man here that's paying money, feeding them, putting them in a position of power, and they like that, and they don't understand what's really going on, and there is nobody there to really help them. I have a lot of African people that follow my channel, and I get so much information from them about what's going on. And we talk, as I talk about, I have a couple trips to Africa planned this year, and it's a lot that's going on. And for the people who are trying to figure it out, the fact, as I said, that you understand about constitutions and presidents and what they do and what they bring to a civilization, and how we have been bamboozled with that here in America, and the fact that you have ancient civilizations in Africa that have existed for a long time with kings and rulers, queens as well, that never had this kind of, a constitution or a system. Them down in South Africa basically changing the constitution so that they can get rid of, those white farmers and the people who stole that land and not give them money. In those cases, you can say, hey, that's good, but like, come on, let's be real. Get rid of that stuff anyway. Get them the fuck out of there. They don't belong there anyway. That's what it should be. Forget a constitution and the paper and trying to do this shit the colonizer way or the European way. What's right? What's wrong? What's wrong is they shouldn't be there. Plain and simple. What's right is the African people should be getting a very large cut of the money that these corporations are bringing into Africa. Plain and simple. But it's not happening. And until you get other, people in Africa that's in positions of power to wake up, which they are, and see what's going on, then so many different countries going to continue to be, used, and resources is going to be taken away and given to people who got more than enough. So I don't want anybody getting caught up in that whole movie narrative of these rich African nations not wanting to help other African nations, grow economically and technologically, because of fear of too many nations knowing what they got and coming in and taking it or anything like that. It's not the case. The case is, one, they don't control shit.